Welcome, creatures of all ages. Yes, my browser's are audio. I mean, my background music is on from the start. Well, happy Pride Month, everyone. It's the 12th of June. It's a little late, but yeah, it's Pride. It's a celebration of how far we've come regarding equality and respect for lifestyles different than ours, and I mean, across history. Vasilis, thank you so much for coming. I mean, as I was saying, we're in a very unusual point across history in that not only is this manifested in the form of tolerance of different lifestyles, but also in the fact that the concept of the community and the demands for unquestionable responsibility to the community has sort of faded in favor of freedom of choice. People have more freedom to choose than ever before. Like, you know, I look around and the kind of clothes people wear, the amount of skin women show, it's unprecedented throughout history and because and it's generally a sign of the fact that individuality and personal rights are more respected at this period than they have ever been before, for better or for worse. We've come so far as a society in respecting this, at least in my opinion. I remember how when I was in middle school, people, even non-Christians, and we're talking about how stupid being gay was, and I was ultimately kept out. I was kept out of that kind of homophobia of the time because of my really enlightened parents, who I love to death. But yeah, the 2015 ruling on recognizing gay marriage was so important in just normalizing this new way, this way of life, and we're normalizing people's freedom to choose. It's great. So I have a bunch to talk about. About regarding Pride. Some regarding my own experiences. Some regarding history. Some modern, some ancient, because it's had a broad series of views over time and over geography. That it's a very loaded topic, but you know, these are things I think we really have to talk about so that we don't just ignore them, because if we don't talk about one side, the other sides will talk about them, and you know how it is. So today we're actually playing Rome Total War again as a background. We are playing as Pergamon. And the reason we are playing as Pergamon is because Pergamon covers the west coast of Anatolia and the islands off it, which is where, you guessed it, the island of Lesbos is, the home of Sappho, whose poetry we'll be reading. She is a very interesting figure, largely because, first of all, we know very little about the way she actually lived. All we know is that there probably was a person named Sappho, and she wrote a series of very revolutionary poetry for the time. Lyric poetry, meaning poetry meant to be sung while playing to the tune of a lyre, a lyre, however you pronounce it. What she actually was like, nobody knows, but people for hundreds of years after, both in ancient Greece and in the Romantic period of European literature, wrote a lot about her, making up their own stories about what she might have been like. But yeah, very interesting figure because of just how many different ways she's been perceived, and as well as her poetry. I remember reading her poetry in high school, I think. I forget if it's in high school or college. It's all kind of a blur right now, but it's even if it's translated into English, there's a kind of even if it's translated into English, there's a kind of I don't know, dreaminess to it. A kind of genuine, it's genuinely feminine poetry, I guess. You can tell from its words, you can tell from its flow. It's amazing. So, anyways, let's get to Rome. Let's see. Let's turn off the background music. And okay, let's make sure that everything is in place. And all right, there we go. This is good. Okay, so like I said, we are playing as Pergamon, one of the Greek poli. Ancient city of Aeolus, currently located 26 kilometers from the Aegean Sea, on a promontory on the north side of the river Calchas. So, as you know, Anatolia used to be mainly occupied by Greek city-states. Occupied by Greek city-states after the Hittite Empire collapsed during the Bronze Age collapse. Then afterwards, Persia pushed in and either made it into client states. Then Alexander took it over. And Hellenized it again. And then it became part of the Roman Empire and became the seat of power of the Eastern Roman Empire after the West fell. Only later in the mid second millennium was it captured by the Turks from the east. So, all right. So let's get on it. So, like I said, I'm going to be talking a bit about I'm going to be talking primarily about the proscription and tolerance of sexuality across history, rather than the recognition of marriage, since I'm going to be real. The tolerance of the behavior is an issue of personal human rights. The recognition of marriage in government policy is an issue of government policy, even as personally charged as it is. Laws can normalize certain behaviors and laws can normalize certain customs, but ultimately, it is still a government. It's still ultimately government policy and government customs structures, I guess. I don't know how to put it, but you get the idea. So, anyways. I was born in the late 1900s, so I probably wasn't old enough to actually know what was going on at this time. So, the last U.S. anti-sodomy law was actually struck down as unconstitutional in Texas in 2003. The U.S. Supreme Court the Supreme Court that it violated the First Amendment, because the First Amendment guaranteed people's rights to privacy. Oh no, I forget if it's the First or Fourth Amendment. But definitely they declared that the Constitution does give people a right to privacy. And then I, as you might know, I'm Indian American, and up until 2018, sodomy in India was actually criminalized up until 2018 by Section 377, a holdover law from British colonial times. Because remember, for a large part of British history, the act of sodomy was actually punishable by prison time as public indecency. Oscar Wilde got in trouble with the law for it. So there was no real Hindu religious reason for keeping Section 377, but there had been no political will to repeal it until so finally the Supreme Court declared it unconstitutional. So we have peltasts, we have cavalry, we have hoplites. Hoplites can be used to guard our flanks. And now let's get some pikemen. Just right off the bat. Let's look at our relationships with other factions. Let's see. Well, let's see what our missions are currently. Forge a defensive or military alliance with Bithynia. Alright.
I am eager to hear your embassy.
Guess not.
I am sorry. I gain only the scorn of the gods and my people if I agree to your proposal.
Alright, good start. What's our other goal? Forge a defensive or military alliance with the following faction: Pontus. All right, let's visit at Bithynia, see if we can butter them up a little. Oh wow, Philotyros is 71 years old. Huh, alright. And oh, I see. So Philotyros found himself sitting on 9,000 talents that had no owner in a fortress with no master after Lysimachus was killed by Seleucus. Or Seleucus, however you pronounce it. So Pergamon became the capital of the new kingdom of Pergamon, founded in 281. What should I be aiming for? You know what, for now, I know what I need. I need food. All right. So, I know a very popular perception of the ancient world is a very popular perception of the ancient world, especially ancient Greece, is that there was tolerance towards the LGBTQ, towards homosexuality. That's not entirely true. Love between women was definitely generally just ignored. It was seen as weird, but it was looked the other way. So most literature regarding pre-Christian and moral literature regarding and depictions regarding homosexuality was focused on male and male. it was generally seen in the context of male and male sex, and there are actually even some arguments that Leviticus 18 in the Torah primarily also focuses on its prescription on male and male sex rather than, huh? Well, shit. Nicomedia, Alright, I'm going to demand an apology for for killing my king's brother's underage a wife who is 20 years younger than him. Alright, so there are even some so it ultimately all this disdain for male and male relationships might have stemmed from the fact that it was generally not done for sexual pleasure, but as a form of dominance and submission based on social status, men to boys and also master to slave. So then generally it was seen as a act of, I don't know, an act of humiliation rather than an act of love. I mean, that's not to say people didn't actually, men didn't love men. It's just that usually it wasn't, it was either kept in secret or it was just seen as weird. Alright. Then in the Roman Republic, there was a, even before Christianity, there was this elusive legal document called the Lex Cantinia that prescribed this form of pederasty, and how well it was and how well enforced it was debatable. But the first general and heavy-handed prohibition of homosexuality in the Roman Empire was under the Christian emperors, finalized in form in the Theodosian Code, as far as I can find, which, by the way, also declared Christianity the state religion and cracked down on paganism. As a side note, apart from the West, in some southeastern cultures, the concept of a third gender of men who don't conform to traditional male masculine roles, sort of like modern non-binary people, they've been around for hundreds of years. Actually, I don't know if you guys have seen what is it? The action movie Monkey Man starring Dave Patel, which is basically like, it's a Western action movie starring a British Indian actor taking place in India and Mumbai, but everyone speaks English for some reason. This particular third gender of people are called in India are called the Hijra. Nowadays, they traditionally they've been known as the Hijra, and they play they're a pretty important role in the movie Monkey Man. There's something similar in Thailand called Ladyboys, which is where the stereotype it comes from. Let's see. Phrygian peltasts. Pergamon peltasts. Why does this unit have such so much stronger armor? Huh? Why does this unit have such stronger armor? He has what? Has my Oh, there we go. He has such a tiny shield. But yeah, I think that's enough pikemen, so let's get some peltasts. Some light infantry. let's try it. Let's try it again. Hold on a second. Is my stream working right? Not right. Not going right. Dang. Okay, so seems to be going fine, but yeah. Of course, the other major persecution of homosexuals throughout in history was in Nazi Germany. So yeah, the attempt to exterminate homosexuals in Nazi Germany was, first of all, it was sudden and violent, and it was part of a broader push to get rid of communities that the Nazis deemed undesirable. Including Jews, Social Democrats, Catholics, and labor organizers. It began very early with sporadic extrajudicial violence, with the Nazis' youth wing forming gangs and vandalizing Jewish and gay establishments, as well as death threats from Nazi leadership. And then in 1933, when the Nazis came to power, it became clear the Nazis were not joking when they said Jews and gays needed to be killed. So masses of these enemies were arrested and killed. Funny enough, according to the account I am reading, the laws didn't just apply to current homosexual behaviors. It also applied to past ones as well. It applied to past laws as well. The laws were deemed by Nazi legalists to be retroactive. So if you were questioning your sexuality at one point and did something that the Nazis deemed unacceptably homosexual but aren't doing it anymore, they'll dig it up and say you're going to camp. So, yeah, like Jews, gay people were sent to concentration camps where they were worked to death and killed. Let's see. Let's get some... Let's get some slingers. No, let's get some archers. All right. So otherwise, so the uglier component of this attempt to exterminate gay people in Europe was that scholarly and popular examination of gay persecution didn't happen until much later. Even after the Germans lost the war, laws prescribing homosexuality continued in both Germany and across Europe. Remember, Alan Turing, who might have actually saved millions of lives through his work in the war, was chemically castrated for being gay. Some writers even accused the Nazis themselves of being homosexual deviants to explain their barbarity. Though, ultimately, at last, though, in 2008, a memorial was erected for homosexual victims of the Nazis. Let's talk about some more pleasant stuff. Stuff about wins for the LGBTQ. An event commonly perceived as a turning point in the history of gay pride was the Stonewall riots of June 27th in 1969. The Stonewall Inn gay bar in New York State had regularly been raided by the police for various excuses. At which point, the more flamboyant attendees were taken away and on the onlookers passively left. But on June 27th, 1999, on June 27th, 1999, the police once again came to crack down on illegally sold liquor, but this time the attendees of the Stonewall Inn fought back. They started by throwing coins, sort of a symbol of the payoffs gay bars traditionally had to make to the police. And before long, the scene erupted into chaos as lesbians and gays chanted "Gay Power." The riot erupted again the next day, this time with thousands of participants. So let's see. What else? Is my mic working? Yes, it is. So the event was actually this event, and meaning the Stonewall riots, was actually part of a broader series of events that galvanized the LGBTQ community into becoming more active in pushing for their rights. Either way, rather than a catalyst, this phase in the movement could actually be said to be one of the one of the many features of the liberation period of the 60s, which also included movements for racial and gender equality and genuine sexual liberation. Actually, funny thing, there's this Wojak YouTuber I follow called The Crusader, who made a video of Wojak's depicting the various decades in America. And one commenter said, in his opinion, the 1950s was the let's see, do I have a casus belli for killing these idiots? Let's see. I need a port settlement. I don't know. I don't. I know this is weird for a Total War player, but I don't like to activate attack factions out of the blue. I usually like to find some sort of a casus belli. I really should try playing. What is it? I wonder what'll happen if I send a. So basically, this guy said the last decades that the founding fathers would have approved of is the 1950s. They would have been disgusted by everything that came afterwards. That's a very, I don't know, that's obviously a reactionary way of putting things. And I don't know, I like to characterize the founding fathers of the United States as people who were definitely classically liberal in the way of the time, and also Protestant, but and to some degree, but at the same time we're aware that times would eventually change and history would move on ahead of them, which is why they allowed the Constitution to be amended as it was. I mean, I'm guessing. Obviously, they really hoped that something like the Civil War wouldn't have happened, and the Civil War happening is the reason why we got the 14th Amendment, which many reactionaries really grumble about, because it extends the Bill of Rights, including the separation of church of state, to state governments as well. All right, that's the casus belli of its own. Let's go. Let's see. Let's go. But yeah, the general liberal liberation movement of the 60s was a broad, included a broad movement for the rights of women, the rights of gay people, the rights of racial minorities, just pride in being who you are. And I guess not everyone agrees with that, but you know, that's how it is. Okay. Cavalry over here. Where are these guys going to come from? I wonder if I can... I should probably make my formation a little tighter so that it doesn't extend down the slope. I mean, that's the nice thing about Pharaoh. For all the crap Pharaoh gets, Total War Pharaoh gets, it has very nice terrain, very nice battlefields. Crete Assembly is obviously a little bit stuck in its stuck in undesirable ways, but they do eventually learn from their mistakes. All right. Where are they coming from? I can't see them, so I'm guessing they're coming from the west. Okay, so as some of you might know, in there was sort of a setback in that in the 1980s there was a general setback for the LGBTQ. I mean, there was a general turn towards conservative values in the West, in the form of neoliberal policies under Reagan and Thatcher, and religious moralism in the form of megachurches, censorship policies such as the video nasties in the UK, and the satanic panic regarding rock music and fantasy literature and gaming. So, this coincided, and this did coincide with the wave of hate for gay people, which was codified in law in the UK and the previously liberal UK by the Thatcher government, Section 28, which forbade schools and local authorities from mentioning it. Basically, the British version of a lighter British version of the UK's ban on Russia's ban on homosexual propaganda. But also coinciding in this move with this move towards conservatism was, and perhaps intensifying it, was the AIDS epidemic. People, people often underestimate the panic surrounding surrounding AIDS in the 1980s. Half the population refused to do blood transfusions. Some believed you could actually catch it through physical contact. Basic physical contact, to the point where some tried to actually social distances on buses, like with COVID. And some of the first public figures to be infected were openly gay, such as Freddie Mercury. Gay people were often perceived as promiscuous, having many sexual partners, and people also thought that lesbians were as likely to be infected as gay men, which is obviously wrong. So I'm going to bring up some something from my own life, a recount from my own life. I do remember how my sex education in the early 2010s, and even in the early 2010s, it was largely abstinence based. Let's see, do they have any cavalry? Yeah, they have Lydian citizen cavalry. So I'm going to see if I can guard the flanks from them. Okay, here they come. Oh, companion cavalry, alright. Sarissa cavalry. Oh, thank you for so much for coming, Vasilisa. Okay, I'll wait 30 minutes until somebody and see if anybody comes. And if nobody comes, for the sake of the VOD gang, I will, for the sake of the VOD gang, I'll start talking again. Alright, my cavalry over here is winning. My commander cavalry. Pergamon companion cavalry, alright. Alright, companion cavalry are losing over here. Alright, they also have... No, these are mercenary pikemen. Recoplites. Where is their general? Oh, that's him, alright. Alright, seems... Alright, seems fairly straightforward.
One of our units has used all its ammunition.
Alright, Peltasts on this side have run out of... have run out of javelins, that's okay.
Our men flee the field of battle. This is a shameful
Look at these, look at this clash. These axemen trying to slowly break apart the pike phalanx and failing.
used all its ammunition.
All right. I'm going to win, so my main goal over here is to get rid of as many of the... is to run down as many of their fleeing troops as I can.
One of our units has used all its ammunition.
Okay, we should be good over here. Now we'll actually start flank charging.
Our men flee the field of battle. This is a shameful Our men flee the field of battle.
Let's see. So it's a companion cavalry, but it can't do diamond formation. That's too bad. Let's see if I can gank their general.
Our
Alright, get wrecked, idiot. Alright, enemy general is dead. Alright, let's get ready for the charge of the century. Alright, that should do it. When did I say that I would start again in 30 minutes? Like, I forget. I think it's like in 10 minutes or so. I don't know. Anyways, I will start talking again in 10 minutes for the VOD gang. That seems to be everything. Oh, heroic victory, alright. Yeah, peltasts are really good. Despite their tiny swords, they can break up phalanxes and tear through them. I mean, that's kindly of how it was in the Middle Ages too. The Spanish had these swordsmen called rodoleros, who could had circular swords that could break apart pike formations. All right. All right. So in 10 minutes, I'll start. All right. I could use some extra gold. Alright, I have access to sea. Right at the start. Very nice. And the mausoleum of Mausolus. Awesome. And a shipwright too. Perfect. Paroikoi. Alright, what should I give this guy? I will give him authority. I will give him an authority E buff and a movement speed buff, and let's see, let's okay, what next? I would like to take Rhodos or Confederated later. We'll see. I mean, normally, like I said, I don't like to attack. I don't like to attack random factions without a casus belli, but this time I want to play a little more aggressively, so I'm going to do what Total War players usually do and make them. So... oh, that makes things simpler. Let's build a fleet and make our way there. Okay, let's build a fleet. Who should we give it to? Gifted leader, histrionic, authority, cultured, egotistic, mirth. Populists. Oh, thirst for power. I need him gone. I will keep him over here so that he can get rid of Helenus, and I will make Eumenes is my king's brother, or a admiral. Okay, so how much does this cost? All right. So, 3 more minutes until I start talking again. I forget which island off the coast of Anatolia Lesbos is on, but I definitely have it now. So let's drink some water. Need to stay hydrated. Is that the fleet, or is that a... Well, or are those transports? Huh? Why is there a food shortage? Yep, it is. It is transports. Oh, do I have to? No, I don't. I don't want to fight with just transports.
We will return!
Okay. Alright, let's get started again. Okay, so like I said, I got my sex education in the early 2010s, and
Would you kindly allow trade between our people,
he said, would you kindly? That means I have to do it.
including your tax?
Because a slave obeys and a man chooses. So yeah, it was largely abstinence based. The words abstinence they were repeated more times than I care to remember, and even if we were told to use condoms and birth control if we did have sex, it was still discouraged. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because this largely applied to oral activity as well, including tongue kissing, which the teachers claimed could cause blood contact and thus STD transfer. Ah, there you are. I mean, sorry, that's not appreciated enough. Thank you so much for coming back. You know what? Let's skip the gory details. Let's talk about Sappho. Let's see. Let's get a small navy. Alright, let's see what this new guy can do. He's mercantile, alright. Much better. Okay, so Sappho. Sappho's surviving lyric poetry commonly does commonly describe her affection for females in her circle. Whether platonic or erotic is obviously up for debate, because it's not like she's gonna actually talk about her sexcapades with her girlfriends, and it's back all the way back then. But despite this, many later authors, both Greek playwrights and later European authors, do describe her as heterosexual, at least at the end, but either to disparage her as sexually promiscuous or describe her as a mentally ill victim of unrequited love. Most of these descriptions are most likely fictions, either partially or entirely, and the true life of Sappho on the Isle of Lesbos is honestly unknown to history. Common story written by later authors is of her suicide by jumping off a cliff due to rejection by the wrestler Phaon. But over 1,000 years later, when she went on. So these stories may have initially been read as fiction, but over 1,000 years later, they went on to be seen as fact incorrectly. This is because hold on. Yeah, for a large part of history, the Greek authors and the Greek historians and were just taken as fact. Like Caesar's depiction of the Gallic Wars was depicted as was just seen as a reliable source, seen as fact. Now it's only later in like the last 100 years that people began to question it. I'm just gonna bonk them all to death. Screw it. But either way, different authors describe Sappho with entirely different personalities, sometimes in the same stories. These depictions include a brilliant poet. They might disparage her for her homosexuality. They might caricature her as a promiscuous harlot. Or they might just lament or they might just describe her, like I said, as a romantic, mentally ill woman driven by passion to the point where she takes her life over a non-reciprocal love with Fion.
Enemy reinforcements approaching.
All right. Bonk.
One of our units has used all its ammunition. Our general is under attack.
And bonk. Big ships with big rams. What? I don't feel like chasing them all down, so whatever. Anyways, that's enough about the history of LGBTQ. The important thing is that we've hit an amazing milestone by recognizing it as a valid and natural style of living, and we should not fuck it up. Happy Pride Month, everyone. Okay, let's start reading the poetry of Sappho. So, like I said, the poetry of Sappho is very feminine, feminine lyric poetry. It has and has a rhythmic flow often, largely because it's meant to be sung while playing a lyre. Let's start here. The Muses. Hither now, O Muses, leaving the golden house of God unseen in the azure spaces. It says, come and breathe on bosom and brow and kindle, song like the sun glow. Come and lift my shaken soul to the sacred shadows cast by Helicon's rustling forests. Uh, yes. Sweep on wings of flame from the middle ether, seize and uplift me. Thrill my heart with throbs of unwanted fervor. Chasten mouth and throat with immortal kisses, till I yield on maddening heights the very breath of my body. That's right. Back then when there were no video games, no TV, music was without music, life would be a mistake. Hey, that's what Friedrich Nietzsche said. Without the music, life would have no point. All right. The Musagetes. I get it. The hours and graces, the seasons of the hours and graces, like the cousins of the muses. Come with Musagetes, ye hours and graces. Dance around the team of swans that attend him. Oh no, Musagetes is someone else. Up Parnassian heights to his holy temple, high on the hilltop. Come, ye Muses, to from the shades of Pindus. Let your songs that echo on winds of rapture wake the lyre he tunes to the sweet, inspiring sound of your voices. Maybe Musagetes is Apollo? Let me check. Musagetes. Oh, yes, it is referring to Apollo. I figured as much. I actually saw an interesting take on what is it? Take on YouTube that fantasy polytheism, meaning worshipping the here they come. The entire sea is against me, and I'll take it all along. So that fantasy polytheism, like in D&D, is actually not that similar to real polytheism, largely because fantasy in fantasy, there are many gods, but people are generally devoted only to one. So it's not really polytheism; it's henotheism. All right, that's more like it. Yeah, I don't like to attack ships that attack fleets of transport ships. It just doesn't feel fair. Yeah, it's not fun just jumping from one to another, blocking them. Let's see. Alright, military conscripture. That should boost his um, army replenishment. Alright. Um, let's keep reading. Love's Banquet. Oh, this is a long one. If Panoramas, Cyprus, or Paphos hold thee, either home of gods or the island temple, hark again and come at my invocation, goddess benefic. So she is speaking to come thou, foam-born Cyprus. Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know the mythology behind this, by Kypris, she's probably referring to Aphrodite, because according to Greek mythology, Aphrodite was born from sea foam off the coast of Cyprus. And pour in dainty cups of amber gold thy delicate nectar, subtly mixed with fire that will swiftly kindle love in our bosoms. Thus the bowl ambrosial was taken to stirred in Paphos for the feast, and taking the burnished ladle. Well, Hermes poured the wine for the gods, who lifted reverent beakers. High they held their goblets and made libation, spilling wine as pledge to the fates and Hades, quaffing deep and binding their hearts to Eros, lauding thy servant. Oh, faction leader just died. Of course, he was old. He wasn't. Old guy. Heavy Lancers. Alright, now I actually have to start worrying about... Now... Oh, he's a disdained faction leader too. Alright, now I actually have to start worrying about political instability. Dang it. Anyways, I gotta rush over. I have to rush over so that I can quickly take this settlement. Now that their main army is gone. Let's see. No, I should get some. All right. Well, where was I? Oh yeah. So to end, me and my lesbians round me gathered. Remember, lesbian doesn't refer to no doesn't. Huh. 13,000 gold for a trade agreement. That is very unexpected. Surprised to be sure, but a welcome one. All right. It's like when it's like when what is it? Rome defeated Pyrrhus, and as a show of respect to this new power in the Mediterranean, Ptolemy the Second sent lavish gifts to them. I guess that's I guess now I'm a power to be reckoned with. Okay, so again, lesbians does not necessarily refer to
My people do not like luxury.
doesn't refer to gay women per se. It refers to the people of the island of Lesbos. Let me start from the beginning. If Panormus, Cyprus, or Paphos hold thee, either home of the gods or island temple, hark again and come at my invocation, goddess benefic. Come thou, form-born Cyprus, and pour in dainty cups of amber gold thy delicate nectar, subtly mixed with fire that will swiftly kindle love in our bosoms. Thus the bowl ambrosial was stirred in Paphos, as for the feast, and taking the burnished ladle, Hermes poured the wine for the gods who lifted reverent beakers. High they held their goblets and made libation, spilling wine as pledge to the Fates and Hades, quaffing deep and binding in their hearts to Eros, laughing thy servant. So to me and my lesbians round me gathered, each made mine an amphor of love long tasted. Bid us drink, who sigh for thy thrill ecstatic, passion's full goblet. Grant me this, O Cyprus, and on thy altar dawn will see a goat of the breed of Naxos, snowy doves from coasts, and the drip of rarest lesbian vintage. For a regal taste is mine, and the glowing zenith lure and beauty of suns must brighten. Love for me that ever upon perfection trembles elusive. So it does seem like she does genuinely have a love for her sisters as more than friends, her lesbians.
We take this.
Okay, let's go. It's an unwalled settlement, so this should be fairly simple. Alright, what's next? Moon and stars. When the moon at full on the sill of heaven lights her beacon, flooding the earth with silver, all the shining stars that about her cluster hide their fair faces. So when Anactoria's beauty dazzles, sight of mine, grown dim with the joy it gives me, Gorgo, Athis, Girino, all the others fade from my vision. Okay, so this is basically talking about how. Alright, so how one particular a female lover of hers dazzled her above all the others, basically making certainly adding a bit of jealousy. An element of jealousy, yeah. Okay.
Our reinforcements have arrived.
Oh, there it is. It's the Colossus of Rhodes. Unfortunately, there is. Oh, yes, there is. There is a bulge. Okay, let's see if I can T-bone this idiot. Okay. Okay, did it work? Did I T-bone him? Almost.
Our general is under attack.
Okay, who here has a ram?
One of our units has used all its ammunition.
All good so far. And so much micro required. Bonk. All right, kind of have to make a U-turn here. All right. Need to get rid of their archers quickly. All right.
Units has used all its ammunition.
Alright, next one. Alright, that's it. That is good. Still, I need to capture their land and region. I need to capture the town itself.
One of our units has used all its ammunition. The men are wavering.
Huh? Oh, over here. Yes, that's fine. All good, all good. I don't think I need to micro too much for this, so let's read some more. Okay. Oh, here's a long ode to Anactoria. This Anactoria lover of hers.
Our men flee the field of battle. This is a shameful display. One of our units has used all its ammunition.
Okay, Ode to Anactoria. No, I should probably start reading this while when I'm about done on here. So the pike wall is going on fine, and our troops are more or less about to just tear them to shreds.
One of our units has used all its ammunition.
Alright. Good encirclement. Good enough of encirclement, so... Alright, Peltasts striking into the... Yeah, striking into the heavy phalanx infantry. Oh, Rhodian picked hoplites. These guys are tough. Okay, I don't know what you're doing here, but shoot at them if you have the time to run off as a lone wolf. Alright, these archers are sitting ducks. that looks painful. Alright, that should 8, so that should probably be the coup de grace. These pick hoplites, these elite hoplites are a little bit annoying though. And that is it. I will just quickly run them down, these archers down. Alright. Rhodos is mine. Alright, now let's actually start reading about an ode to Anactoria. Peer of the gods to me is the man thy presence. Oh no, Anactoria is a man. Alright. Okay, so... okay, so he's actually praising Anactoria to the point where... to the point where her girlfriends, I'm guessing her girlfriends, and fade out in comparison. Peer of the gods to me is the man thy presence crowns with joy, who hears as he sits beside thee, accents sweet of thy lips, the silence breaking with lovely laughter. Tones that make the heart in my bosom flutter. For if I, the space of a moment even, near to thee come, any word would I utter instantly fails me. Vain my stricken tongue would to a whisper fashion, subtle under my skin runs fire ecstatic. Straightway mists surge dim to my eyes, and leave them reft of my vision. Echoes ring in my ears, a trembling seizes all my body. Alright, I don't need this shipwright anymore, so I am just going to turn it into a thesis. I am going to turn it into a harbor for trade. And I will turn this into and so my main shipyard will be the port of Rhodos. So I have two world wonders now. Awesome. Let's see. Let's do... And alright, let's continue. Let's build a bigger fleet, because now this horde of transports is coming. Alright. Echoes ring in my okay, from the beginning. Peer of gods to me is the man thy presence crowns with joy, who hears as he sits beside thee, accents sweet of thy lips with the silence breaking, with lovely laughter, tones that make the hearts in my bosom flutter. For if I, the space of a moment even, near to thee come, any word I would utter instantly fails me. Vain my stricken tongue with a whisper fashion, subtly under my skin runs fire ecstatic. Straightway mists surge dim to my eyes and leave them, reft of their vision. Echoes ring in my ears. A trembling seizes, all my body bathed in soft perspiration. Pale as grass, I grow in my passion's madness, like one insensate. But must I dare all, since to me bliss thy beauty brings that a god might envy. Never yet was fervid a woman fairer. Was a fervid woman a fairer image of Cyprus. Wait, I'm a little confused here. That. Okay, I guess I just have to bounce around again. So wait, so is Anactoria a man or a woman? All my body bathed in soft perspiration, pale as grass I grow in passion's madness, like one insensate. But must I dare all? You know, I'm gonna look this up. Sappho, Anactoria. Oh, it is a woman. All right. Okay, it is okay, it is confirmed. It is a woman. Okay. So echoes ring in my ears, a trembling seizes, all my body's bathed in soft perspiration. Pale as grass I grow in my passion's madness, like one insensate. But must I dare all, since to me unworthy bliss thy beauty brings that a god might envy? Never yet was a fervid woman a fairer image of Cyprus. Ah, undying daughter of God, befriend me. Calm my blood that thrills with impending transport. Feed my lips the murmur of words to stir her bosom to pity. Overcome with kisses her faintest protest, melt her mood to mine with amorous touches, till her low ascent and her sighs abandon. Lure me to rapture. Funnily enough, it's called Ode to Anactoria, but according to Wikipedia, there really isn't a title for it. There really isn't a title to it. It's her object of affection is some woman, but her object of affection is some woman, but a woman, but it's just assumed. Archaeologists and anthropologists or literature experts just assume that it is Anactoria.
Our general is under attack.
All right. Oh, that was easy. Oh my god, this is... Yeah, yeah, small ship battles are generally, ship skirmishes are not that fun because you can just smash everything to death. You can just smash everything to death with ramming your, no, with rams from your flagship. Alright, here's the next one. The Rose. If it pleased the whim of Zeus in an idle hour to choose a king for the flowers, he surely would have crowned the rose for its regal beauty, deeming it peerless. By its grace is valley and hill embellished. Earth is made a shrine for the lover's ardor. Dear is it to flowers as the charm of lovely eyes are to mortals. Joy and pride of plants, and the garden's glory. Beauty blush it brings to the cheek of meadows, draining fire and dew from the dawn for the rarest color and odor. Softly breathed, its scent is a plea for passion. When it blooms to welcome the kiss of Cypress, sheathed in fragrant leaves, its tremulous petals laughs in the zephyr. So, like I said, back then, no TV or video games. So, when's the last time any of you actually smelled bent down and smelled a flower? Like, be real. That's definitely, again, that's something that people did before there were before there were any video games or internet. Alright. Destroyers. Alright, let's get a... What should we build here? What should we build in Rhodos? Ah, commerce. Yeah, we can do that. So, who should we trade with? Absinthoi. Galadians.
You have my attention.
Can I just ram them all to death? Guess not. Not with all resolve. Okay. Oh, here it is. Wait, are Aphrodite and Kypris different people? I'm gonna look this up too. Kypris. Okay, so yes, this is just another name for Aphrodite, as I thought. one thing to note, by the way, is she lived in Sappho lived in the very early days of Greek civilization. The what would the word be? The archaic ages. The archaic age, I think, because she was born in 630 BC or so just a little bit away from the death of the Neo-Assyrian of the bloodthirsty Neo-Assyrian and king Ashurbanipal. Let's get a hero. And all right. Alright, let's educate Attalus here. Okay. Aphrodite, subtle of soul and deathless, daughter of God, weaver of wiles, I pray thee, neither with care, dread mistress, nor with anguish, slay thou my spirit. But in pity hasten, come now if ever, from afar of old when my voice implored thee, thou hast deigned to listen, leaving the golden house of my father. With thy chariot yoked, and with doves that drew thee, fair and fleet around the dark earth from heaven, and different vibrant wings hangs down the azure distance through the mid-ether. Very swift they came, and thou, gracious vision, leaned with face that smiled in immortal beauty, leaned to me and asked, what misfortune threatened? Why had I called to thee? What my frenzy heart craved in utter yearning, who its wild desire would persuade to passion, what disdainful charms, madly worshipped, slight thee, what wrongs thee, Sappho? No, she that fain would fly, she that shall quickly follow, she that now rejects, yet with gifts shall woo thee, she heeds thee not, soon shall love to madness, love thee, the loath one. Come now to me now thus, goddess, and release me from distress and pain, and all thy my distracted heart would seek. Do thou once again still be my ally. I wonder if this is where the so according to the myth of Sappho and Phaon, Phaon originally was a wrestler who got Phaon was a wrestler who was in exchange for carrying Aphrodite off over the ocean to the Isle of Lesbos. She gave him an unguent that would make him irresistible to women. And Sappho encountered him and immediately wrote a couplet praising him, falling madly in love with him. And Aphrodite actually cursed Sappho, because Sappho had let loose a number of doves that were meant to be sacrificed to Aphrodite, and so what's the word? And so Sappho was cursed to have her love never requited, permanently unrequited. And that ultimately led to her suicide, throwing herself off a cliff when... Oh, god damn it. And he's fortifying. I wonder if I can ambush here. Oh shit, I'm out of food, damn it. Okay, let's take care of that. Eumenes the Second is a hot-blooded man, so he is going to, but he's also highly intelligent, so and so we're going to make him a strategist and an ambusher. Let's see. Next poem. Summer. Slumber streams from quivering leaves that listless bask in heat and stillness of lesbian summer. That sounds like something in a hashtag these days. Lesbian summer. Breathless swoons the air of apple blossom's delicate odor. From the shades of branches that droop and cover shallow trenches winding about the orchard, restful comes, and cool to the sense, the flowing murmur of water. Alright, the next one is the longest one so far. The Garden of the Nymphs. But yeah, there's a reason, and the term Mediterranean climate is a universal term, because the Mediterranean was pleasant without had mild winters and warm summers compared to the deserts of further south and the winters up north.
We will be in war. I trust my once friend, your people.
Oh, got him. Okay, so I will recite the next poem after. Yeah, I will recite the next poem after this battle is done. Just because of how long it is and I need to focus. Alright, and very heavy phalanx infantry. Oh yeah, these guys are fairly well armored very well armored for their time.
Our reinforcements have arrived.
All right. Okay, I mean, I like this kind of ambush. Just a slowly closing in wall of pikes, a wall of spears, instead of like people running out of the trees screaming.
Our general is under attack.
All right. All right. All seems good.
Our men flee the field of battle. This is a shameful display.
Okay, just running down all their. Mm. All right. Unfortunately, their cavalry seem to be running down mine. Seem to be beating mine.
One of our units has used all its ammunition.
Okay.
Our men flee the field of battle. This is a shameful display.
And okay, this should be an easy win, definitely. No, not. Well, I mean, at this point, the purpose isn't just to win; it's also to minimize losses, and that's a little bit more difficult. Since Total War games are all pretty lethal, since every soldier and unit is suicidally brave. All right, the left flank Ink though seems not to be doing very well. Not doing too hot.
The battle is turning in our favor.
Okay. Seriously, what is it with these like unstoppable Cretan cavalry? Alright, seems to be finally over here. Alright, I've managed to split them up.
One of our units has used all its ammunition.
And yeah, that's basically what a Greek ambush is. Wall of spears on both sides, it's just closing in on you like Jaws, like slow closing Jaws.
Our men flee the field of battle. This is a shameful display. Forward! Advancing speed!
Okay, just a bit of fast forwarding now. All right. Okay, let's read this one. The Garden of the Nymphs. All around, through the apple boughs and blossom, murmur cool the breezes of early summer, and from leaves that quiver about of me gently, slumber is shaken. Glades of poppies swoon in the drowsy languor, dreaming of roses bend, and the oleanders bask and nod to drones of bees in the silent fervor of noontide. Myrtle coverts hedging in the open vista, dear to a nightly frolic of nymph and satyr, yield a mossy bed for the brown and weary limbs of the shepherd. Echo ever wafts through the drooping frondage, ceaseful silver murmur of water falling, in the grotto cool of the nymphs, the sacred haunt of immortals. Down the sides of rocks that are grey and lichened trickle tiny hills, whose expectant tinkle drips with gurgle hushed in the clear glimmering depths of the basin. Fair on royal couches of leaves recumbent, interspersed with languor of waxen lilies. Lotus flowers empurple the pool, whose edge is cushioned with mosses. Here recline the nymphs at the hour of twilight. Back in shadows dim of the cave, their golden sea-green eyes half-liddled up to their supple waists in the water. Sheltered once by ferns, I espied them binding tresses long, the tint of lilac and orange. Just beyond the shimmer of light their bodies roseate glistened. Deftly then, they girdled their loins with garlands, linked with leaves luxuriant limp and shoulder. On their breasts they bruised the red blood of roses, fresh from the garden. She of orange hair was the nymph Euxanthus, and the lilac-tressed were Iphis and Io. How they laughed, relating at length their ease in evading the satyr. Yeah, this is very much the feminine the feminine part of Greek mythology. One that's all about beauty and nature, and men can enjoy that too. But Sappho just viewed nature in a, I don't know, in a way that many people. If a man wrote it today, then again, which man these days actually writes poetry? If a man wrote it today, he would be just. You'd be seen as a girly man, or and which I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about, but either way, I think I think it's cool. All right. Aphrodite's doves, when the drifting grey of the vesper shadow dimmed their upward path through the midmost azure, and the length of night overtook them distant far from Paris, far from Olympus, far away from splendor and joy of Paphos, from the voice and smile of their peerless mistress, back to whom their truant wings were in rapture, speeding belated. Chilled at heart and grieving, they drooped their pinions, circled slowly, dipped in flight towards Lesbos, down the dusk that darkened on Mytilene's columns of marble, down through glory wan of fading sunset, veering toward the abode of Sappho, toward my home, the fane of the glad devoted, slave of the goddess. Soon they gained the tile of my roof and rested, slipped their heads beneath the wings while I watched them sink to sleep in dreams in the warm and drowsy night of midsummer. Devoted slave of the goddess. So Sappho is a devoted slave of love, in love with love. I mean, you know how it was back then. It was generally believed by both men and women that women were more emotional, were emotional and passionate, and less logic. So they were slaves to passion, which is why in many later romantic European and a lot of romantic European literature, women are described as killing themselves out of despair. Or with you have like the yellow wallpaper where woman just is locked in a room for her own good by her husband and then goes insane. It's unfair, obviously, and I can see why people would ultimately be afraid of really unusually intelligent women like Hypatia. The reason that Hypatia was killed wasn't just because she was a pagan. I mean, the people who killed her definitely thought she was like a pagan witch, but they were all also largely manipulated into it by the corrupt bishop at the time, and at the same time, it's easy to believe the nasty, untrue things about someone you already don't like. So, like, if you don't like someone because it's a woman, if men back then who didn't like a woman because she was intelligent and doing things that are generally associated with a man, they wouldn't immediately believe that she was a witch. But if someone like that corrupt bishop told her them to, they would believe it. Alright. Can I get this guy to make peace? Ah, guess not. No, I wanted indemnity. I want a big, fat indemnity. Let's see. I need public order right now, so Gymnasia. Or maybe a healer. Yeah, I need a healer. So, who should we bring out to as a governor to raise public order? Definitely not this guy. Probably not this guy. Ooh, no, maybe. No, he's unjust. Confident, obsessive, egotistic. All of these guys are asshats. But this guy is like probably the least asshatish of them all. So yeah, Heracles. Hmm. So all this time, and Lydia has not, and the Lydians have not built built a new army to take me on. All right. All right, let's get some ship archers. All right, Anacreon song. Golden throned muse, sing the song that in olden days was sung of love and delight and chaos, in the goodly land of the lovely women, strains that in other years the hoary bard with the youthful fancy set to mirthfully stir of flutes, when the dancing nymphs that poured the wine for the poet's banquet mixed it with kisses. Sing the song while I, in the arms of Athis, seal her lips to mine with a lover's fervor. Breathe her breath and drink her sighs to the honeyed lull of the melics. Seal her lips to mine. Yep. That's definitely more than just friends. I mean, the thing is, I do wonder what exactly is it that what evolutionary instinct does kissing do? Like, I mean, I know cats and dogs lick each other, but kissing, the specific act of kissing someone on the lips, like what? Oh, how did it come to be that this process evolved? I do want to look into this more. Maybe I'll do it in a short about what is it? About prehistory and biology and anthropology. All right. Oh, there they are. I think, are those the Lydians? Did they just sneak over behind my back?
You are wise enough not to sit idly upon the bank.
All right. Oh, this is a long one too. How much longer do we have? No, that's not even half of those. I think I'm going to continue the stream later, read more of the poetry of Sappho later. and maybe read some more about psychology. Read some more academic journals about psychology, but how do I get back in and save? But yeah, I think I'm going to call it there. I don't really have the energy to stream for that long still, and I also am a bit short on sleep. But thank you all so much for coming. Thank you, Vasilisa, and thank you anyone else who dropped in and lurked. Like I said, next week I will be repeating a few things. I will once again be reading what is it? I will be finishing up the. I will be doing another Pride Month special. So continuing the poetry of Sappho. I will be finishing Shadow of the Vulture. Getting to the point where Red Sonja finally appears, and then I will be doing a 100 subscriber special. Thank you so much for coming, for being here for me. You have made history in my life. So thanks for coming, and expect more to come.